Welcome to Psychic Bent. My name is Carrie.
And I'm Kim. We are two sisters wanting to help other psychics learn and grow in their abilities and to help educate about spirits, angels, and everything psychic. Welcome back, listeners, to Psychic Bent. We certainly hope you enjoyed our previous episode, the 50th episode, about Valentine's Day and self-love. This week, we are going to dive into the discussion about sacred geometry and how sacred geometry is involved in everyday life. So I think I'm going to go ahead and throw this over to Carrie so she can start us off. And there will be some left-brainedness, so be patient, okay?
Be prepared. You've been warned.
Yeah.
All right. I forgot to tell Kim about this. So I guess now's not the time to just, I forgot to tell you. But I forgot to tell you, I got a comment about our Valentine episode.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, about the Vikings.
Okay.
And another show on Netflix was recommended, which I've already seen.
Oh, okay.
I did get that feedback. So I thought that was funny. I was informed that it was based on true events and the other Viking show on TV or on Netflix. And I'm like, I've already watched that one. But thanks. I just thought that was funny.
That is funny.
Okay. I'm not alone. So Kim and I are going to explore with y'all today is the various shapes and symbols of sacred geometry. And Kim's going to go in much detail of the left brain for the special meanings. I'm just going to touch about it a little bit, and she's going to hop in with more information. These geometric patterns are found in nature, have been studied for centuries. They represent a deep concept and are believed to be the building blocks of the universe. Sacred geometry serves as a visual language of symbols, system that transcends cultural boundaries. Okay, so sacred geometry is found in all major religions, churches, mosques, prayer books, and ancient temples. It reminds us that all living things are connected and part of a bigger plan. It's used for centuries as symbol of blessings and protection, and patterns found in nature imply that all life on Earth is interconnected. So we're going to start off with our first symbol. And Kim, would you be able to put the pictures on Facebook for the listeners so they could see what each item looks like?
Oh, yeah. I've been harvesting photos of pictures, so...
Harvesting photos. That just sounds really weird.
Okay, I've been getting photos already lined up to post to our Facebook page.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the egg of life or new life and growth. And this particular shape is several circles put together in a pattern. It basically represents new life, rebirth, and fertility. Now, it stands for three necessary things in people's life: health, stability, and fertility. It's interconnected with the seed of life, interconnected with Metatron's cube, which is one of my favorites, just saying, with the 8 spheres. So it's interconnected with Metatron's cube with the 8 spheres, presumed to be the framework for music with a similar spacing as a musical chromatic scale.
That's great.
The flower of life, it represents the blueprint of the universe. This one almost looks like a bunch of little flowers. Wouldn't you say that's to describe a cluster of flowers laid out in a pattern?
Well, it's technically 19 interlocking circles all within a larger circle. So that's actually circles that are overlapping each other to make it.
That make it look like flower petals?
To make it look like flowers, yeah.
Now, how do you come up with that? I mean, because that pattern's so intricate. Who came up with that, Metatron? Who did this? Found in ancient cities worldwide, in Ireland, Turkey, Egypt, and more places, modern and quantum science confirms just how significant the sacred geometry pattern is in our universe. It shows the basic design of everything in existence, from atoms to galaxies. Next up is Metatron's cube. Metatron is one of the 2 archangels that actually were living beings. So Metatron was actually Enoch, And when Enoch died, he transitioned into and became an archangel and known as Metatron. So that is Metatron. So the Metatron's cube, also known as sacred geometry, which you may hear it more frequently referred to as sacred geometry versus Metatron's cube. But this is that particular cube with all the spheres. It's really cool looking. It is 3 dimensions, so it's the sacred geometry in 3 dimensions. It represents the divine order of the universe. Now, this is a complex 3-dimensional shape made up of many interconnecting lines and spheres, named after the archangel Metatron, who is considered a scribe of God mentioned in Islamic, Judaic, and Christian medieval mythologies. So not only is he listed in Christian mythology, but Judaism and Islamic. Metatron cube is associated with balance, harmony, and protection. Also known as fruit of life, Metatron's cube is a geometric figure made of 13 circles with lines connecting the center of each circle to the center of the other 12. Kim, would you like to tell us the 5 sacred patterns that make up the Metatron cube?
Okay, the patterns that make up the Metatron cube are the cube is the first one, the tetrahedron, the octahedron, the icosahedron, and the dodecahedron. And they are found within that Metatron cube.
There's a lot going on with that cube.
There is a lot going on with that cube.
Yeah. And thank you for getting the pronunciation correctly, because if I had said it, it would not have worked too well.
You're welcome.
That's where left brain comes in handy.
Yep.
You can say the big words. So the next one is Vesica Piscis, which is balance and unity. This represents a perfect creation through symmetry and balance. Science has identified this shape in the particles of an atom. Mathematical shape formed by intersecting 2 identical circles, commonly used for Venn diagrams, art, and in organizational seals and logos, used as a system of proportioned architecture.
I found that with this one, its sacred symbol spiritually represents creation. I don't know if you mentioned these, so I'll go ahead and say them. They may be overlapping. Represents creation, creativity, fertility, simplicity, and truth. And with those, before I say some other things, is whenever we were developing the podcast, we needed to come up with our own emblem, something that meant something to us. And as I was floundering in the dark, I guess you could say, but as I was doing research on what symbol or emblem could we use, and I didn't know much about sacred geometry, and I came across these 2 interlocking circles with stars on them, and I felt that it was perfect for what would work for us. And I showed it to Carrie, and she was all in on it, and that's how we came up with our psychic bent picture that we use all the time. And I had no idea it was the Vesica Piscis symbol until I started the research on this. And then when I read those sacred spiritual representations of creation, creativity, fertility, simplicity, and truth, it just was like, well, that all just made sense. It was perfect, in other words, for what we're trying to do here on the podcast. And I was like, wow, look at that.
Yeah, that was a funny phone call. Did you know? I'm like, yeah. Yeah. Did you know that was sacred geometry? Yeah.
I had no clue.
But you were drawn to it, and I'm like, yeah, it works for us. Okay, let's do this,
Yeah.
So, and that's sometimes how things start. You don't know why you're drawn to something. And then later on down the road, you're like, oh, well, that's why that happened. A lot of times it's a psychic hit and we don't realize.
Yeah, exactly. It was pretty crazy.
And I believe yesterday was a year ago to the day that our Facebook page went live.
I think so. You're right.
Yeah.
Sure
Happy
enough.
1 year anniversary Facebook.
That's right.
Because we had that set up before the podcast drops. So.
Yep. So the only other thing Yeah, me too. The only other thing I had to add to the Vesica Piscis is that the Freemasons have also historically used this symbol as an important symbol worn by their officiants of Masonic rituals. So a lot of these symbols have been used for centuries, well, probably since the beginning of time, but they always are using them for pretty much the same reasons that we have chosen to use them as well.
Well, I think it's really interesting how they can tie science into this.
Oh, definitely.
This is something that you use to manifest. You use this to manifest and you use this to different things. You can use it for psychic stuff. And I think it's great that, okay, well, scientists kind of believe in it too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Well, the
Yeah.
word geometry, you know.
There you have it. I didn't take geometry in school. No, I wish I had.
Oh, well, no, you don't.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
No, you
Okay.
probably would have been
Next,
better at it than I, so.
I don't know. Next on our list is the tree of life. Connection and growth represents the interconnectedness of all things and the journey of our soul. The universe symbol, found across many cultures and many periods of time, the structure for all forces in the universe used in a roadmap for the soul. The 10 spheres are called the Sephiroth and are connected by different paths. The sphera at the top represents cosmic consciousness, kind of like your third eye. The sephira or sphere at the base represents the material world, with the remaining spheres representing various qualities of the soul.
The symbol has been also used across many cultures and belief systems, especially Jewish, Christian, and Hindu faiths. And that the tree of life, it can be found in religious symbols such as the Kabbalistic tree of life and the biblical tree of life in the Garden of Eden.
Very cool. Now, the Merkaba, which I've seen it done. It's a how would you explain this, Kim? It's like a bunch of points sticking out at a bunch of different angles.
Well, it's like,
Left brain it for us.
well, it
It's like
is
big triangles.
triangles that
Yeah, it's like
are, yeah, I mean, if you're seeing one that is made in 3D, it is like triangles that are three-dimensional triangles stuck on each other. So it has points
all the way around.
all the way around.
Yeah. Now, the Merkaba, I had someone when I just started in wire wrapping. So this was probably 9 years ago, 10 years ago. Brought me one of these Merkaba cubes to wire wrap. And I'm thinking, what's the front? Where's the back? Because the triangles stick out all over. You have these points all over. But I didn't know what it was at the time. But it was in shungite. It was a very good stone, grounding stone, protective stone. I thought, well, okay.
Right.
But so, yeah, it was really interesting to see one of the stones for the first time. And it was actually a stone, obviously. But this could be a shape on paper or whatnot. But the Merkaba is for spiritual protection and ascension. It represents integration of the physical and the spiritual. Symbol of spiritual protection and ascension, a three-dimensional star shape made up of two interconnecting pyramids. I like that better, pyramids, than me trying to describe it. Reminds us of the potential power we hold when we unite our energy, used throughout history as a symbol for protection.
Now, it is also depicted as rotating in opposite directions, and it does represent light, spirit, and body. And it is said to be a divine light vehicle.
Now, to add to that, the Merkaba, also spelled Merkabah, comes from a Hebrew word that means chariot and can be defined as light. That kind of goes with what you were saying.
Right.
Yes, light is Mer, spirit is Ka, and body is Ba in the Hebrew language.
Interesting.
And hopefully my source is correct, because I do not speak Hebrew. So hopefully my source is correct. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Some people believe that every individual has their own Merkaba that can be awakened through advanced meditation. It is thought to give each person a protective aura and access to higher planes of consciousness and potential, and that the Merkaba is also sometimes visualized as a three-dimensional Star of David. That's another way you can look at it. So it may also symbolize the relationship between humankind and divine beings.
The next on my list is the 64 tetrahedron sacred geometry in the Platonic solid. This represents the unity of all things in higher consciousness. The 64 tetrahedron is a complex shape made up of many interconnecting tetrahedrons randomly appear in nature. 64 is a recurring number throughout our DNA, inventions, language, etc. Known as the masculine equivalent of the flower of life pattern, symbolic of linking one's individual path in harmony with humanity or soul families. Connecting with one's soul star family amplifies each individual energy to accomplish and manifest goals. So that one you want to use for definite manifesting goals when trying to find your soul family. And the last one I have is vector equilibrium for balance and harmony. It's made of interlocking spheres and has perfect symmetry associated with the balance between different forces and energies in the universe, seen as a symbol of higher spiritual truths, and is believed to be a fundamental part of our collective consciousness. Connected to the concept of the matrix in modern quantum theory, omnidirectional, meaning it flows in multiple directions, and represents equilibrium or harmony of opposites.
And I found that it is the only geometric symbol where all vectors are of an equal length. It features 12 vertices, 8 triangular faces, 24 edges, and 32 planes, as the only geometric form where all forces are equal and balanced, and that the vector equilibrium represents the equality between opposite forces like push and pull.
Okay, I have to do a Carrie moment.
Okay.
Every time you said vector, you know what went off in my mind?
Roger. Victor,
Yes,
vector.
what's your vector, Victor? What's your vector, Victor? I mean, if you ever watched the old airplane movies, you'll get it. If you haven't, I apologize for the interruption. Very slapstick humor, but what's your vector, Victor? And I'm just like, okay. She's saying vector too many times. Okay, sorry, I digress. So, Kim, you left-brained right into the wonderful world of sacred geometry. So would you like to tell us what you found most fascinating?
Well, I would. There was one sacred geometry symbol that I really wanted to cover just a little bit on because it's so me. It's the Fibonacci sequence. And the Fibonacci sequence, it's a series of numbers where each number is the sum of the two preceding ones. It is a fundamental pattern that emerges repeatedly in nature. If you're starting at 0 and 1, then the sequence continues infinitely. So what it is that you have 0 and 1. You add those two together, and that gets you the next number. So 0 plus 1 is 1. Then the next two numbers are 1 and 1. You add 1 and 1 together, and you get 2. Then you add 1 and 2. That gets you 3.
Doesn't that add up to numerology?
It's part of numerology, I'm
I was
sure.
gonna say, it sounds like numerology. Don't wonder
Right.
you like it.
Right. But in nature, it appears in the arrangements of leaves, the branches of trees, the spirals of the shells, and the flowering of artichokes. You know how artichokes have that different layer coming out? That is this Fibonacci sequence. It represents the natural order of growth and the inherent beauty found in the mathematical structure of the universe, hence geometry. So I just found that one to be really so my way, you know? So I wanted to cover that one.
You left brain you.
I did. I couldn't help it. I was just like, whoa! I'm there.
Well, that's
And
great.
yeah, anyway, because I could see it in an artichoke or the swirl of the
Well,
shells, I mean, it's just
yeah.
very interesting. So, sacred geometry, as we said, it's essentially the study of the spiritual meaning of various shapes. It can be applied to the forms, numbers, patterns that are seen throughout the world, like we've talked about, anywhere from the spiral on the snail shell, the captivating pattern of a single snowflake, which I'm always fascinated by snowflakes, and the branches of trees. They can all be examples of sacred geometry. And it is also thought to exist beyond the naked eye, both at a cellular level and the stars in the sky and the orbiting planets. The idea that the universe follows an intricate equation dates as far back, as you said, to ancient Egypt, Mesopotamian cultures. It received more attention, though, in later centuries in ancient Greece and was popularized by the philosophers of Pythagoras and Plato, which we have mentioned before in other episodes. They seem to be hanging around quite a bit in the stuff that we cover.
Well, it's really amazing how so much, I mean, from a psychic standpoint, because obviously psychics have been around forever because that's how we're made,
Right.
but how much of what we go over transcends time
Mm-hmm.
and cultures and is layered about. It's just kind of really interesting to me that something that we're doing in 2025 went
Mm-hmm.
all the way back to and transcended several religions
Right.
2000 plus years ago.
Right.
That's kind of amazing.
Right. It's mind blowing.
Yes. But that shows you how true it is, though. It has
Right.
transcended all this time
Mm-hmm.
and is used in science, quantum physics. We use it for manifesting for those that use the sacred geometry and
Right.
use it for different aspects of development. It's just shocking or amazing that someone who's not familiar or open-minded to psychic abilities, empaths, the clairs, because not everybody understands that or is open to understanding that.
Mm-hmm.
But therefore, this is coming with a science background to
Right.
show that this is real.
Yep.
It's in the DNA. You can find these patterns in DNA. You can find these patterns in different, like an artichoke. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Right.
So it's backed by science. It just floors me that people could be skeptical of things that they can't put their minds around it or be open to it, but it's there in science. It's been proven. It's more than 2,000 years old,
Mm-hmm.
as are psychics. Over 2,000 years old, We've always
Yeah.
been this way. I just find that amazing. It makes me feel good to know that if someone is teetering on the I don't know, no one's going to believe me, then I think maybe you need to take a deep dive into studying sacred geometry because there are aspects of that can help you with your spiritual and psychic growth,
Mm-hmm.
but might make you feel more comfortable with the left brainness of it.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing wrong with having a left brain. I mean, that's just how some people are wired, right?
Yeah.
I do not suffer from that affliction. You know what? We have to have you in the family to fix stuff for us because we can't figure it out. When the computer goes down, hello, Kim. I need you to dial in
Shows I'm useful for something, right?
multiple things, by the way, multiple things. But, my way of doing things isn't for everybody. As of
Mm-hmm.
your way of doing things isn't for everybody. But if you've got someone who is an empath, who is trying to develop their psychic abilities, but they're having that struggle of not just being able to go with spirit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That using sacred geometry in meditation, in doing a crystal grid, which is another form of using sacred geometry,
Right.
doing intentions. This might be a tool in someone's psychic toolbox that will give them comfort until they gain confidence
Mm-hmm.
and then move forward to rely on trusting in spirit. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, it does.
Yeah, we were both excited about doing sacred geometry.
Yeah, we were.
But it's important because this might appeal to the analytical psychic
Mm-hmm.
who needs some sort of, I don't want to say proof,
Validation.
validation. That's a good word. Perfect, Kim. Validation. They need validation in their gifts.
Right.
I was speaking with Monique the other day, and I've talked about Monique before. I work with her. Monique has the son that's psychic, and she keeps trying to get him to listen to the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And he's young. He's the guy who does the house cleansings with me.
Yeah.
But he's young. He's got to find it. He has to find his way, and he's not ready. Okay, so the lamp just turned on in the room I'm in, really bright, and it doesn't normally come on this bright. It's
Okay.
usually very dim. Yeah. So, all right, you may get voices. I'm in a different location, gang, than I normally am. So this is a different house. It does have some activity in it.
Yes, yes, I
So
know. I
yeah,
know. I've
yeah,
felt that. So, yeah.
yeah. Well, I am in Cherokee, and I'm in a Native American home, and there are Native American spirits here.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you might pick up something, Kim. Let me know.
Okay.
But yeah, but oh, the light just shut off. Thank you. Okay, it's been acknowledged. So anyway, he's wanting to do things in his own way. He's got to find his path, which is the way we're supposed to do. That's how you learn. If I try to force Kim to, you need to go do this, what's your reaction, Kim?
I don't know about that.
Yes, exactly. Because you're not either A, ready for that change, you're not open to that change, or who are you to tell me what I need to do?
Exactly.
Or all of the above. We've all had that where I've had Julie tell me, you need to go ground yourself. And my first response isn't to go, oh, do I really need to? No, it's like, no, I don't. It's like, well, maybe I do. But it's like, but that's human nature,
Right,
right?
right.
But he's wanting, from what she said, to have the clairvoyance like what you see on TV and in the movies.
Oh, he wants to get slapped in the
And
face by it, huh?
that oh
Yeah,
moment and
yeah,
claps and whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. And she has told him, no, that's not the way it is. You need to listen to the podcast. So he's not going to listen to the podcast because that's not what he wants to hear. And that's fine. He's not ready to be there. And that's cool. That's okay.
Yeah.
So would he appeal to more sacred geometry as a tool to learn and grow? I don't know. But
Yeah.
some people are that way. Some people need that validation.
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly accepting and hearing spirit, but sacred geometry, I think, is a great starting point for someone who needs to feel that there's science behind it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not my imagination. I'm not making it up.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could tell people, well, go check out sacred geometry and come back and talk about it. That kind of thing.
Right. Ready?
Yes.
Sorry.
I'm done with my tangent.
Okay. I didn't know if there was more to the story, so okay.
Well, I don't know why that popped into my mind and needed to be said.
Yeah.
I don't know who needed to hear that, but that needed to be said.
Definitely. So there are many forms of sacred geometry, of course, as we've talked about. They can be found in art, nature, religious practices. These symbols are often found in the foundational architecture of like cathedrals and churches, synagogues, and mosques. They're so important in those places. And they were thought to give a deeper spiritual meaning and connection to these spiritual buildings. So the Mexico Pyramid of the Sun and Egypt's Great Pyramid of Gaza, those are both sacred geometry. They are one of the prime examples of a sacred geometric shape. And artists have incorporated sacred geometry in symbols such as Leonardo da Vinci did with his Vitruvian Man, and as many artists do when incorporating the golden ratio, which is, it's like a swirl that goes around and up that they use to align their work whenever they're painting, because it gives it a nice flow from bottom to top or top to bottom. It gives it a nice flow and centers things in their pictures. Throughout history, that sacred geometry has influenced that architecture from the Gothic cathedrals of Europe, and there are many structures have been built using these principles.
it's such a basic in architecture.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it is the
Yeah. So
founding
that's why
stones
there would
there.
be so much in these buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the patterns in nature, such as the sunflower, the center of a sunflower, that resembles a 3D version of the flower of life symbol. While nautilus shells, those are the ones that have that spiral that I was talking about that represent the Fibonacci sequence. And then sacred geometry also tends to pop up as, like we said, with religious symbols, such as the crossover between the Vesica Piscis and the fish symbol used by early Christians. The fish symbol is used by early Christians to identify their faith. So those symbols also are part of sacred geometry as well.
Are you going to put pictures of all this on Facebook? Because you lost me.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will.
Okay.
I've got pictures. They will be coming out next week. Not all at one time, but I will be updating them throughout the week on Facebook. I might overwhelm everybody if I just slap all those pictures out there. So within nature, if you've looked up into a dark sky with no clouds, a cloudless sky at night, or you may have seen photographs that have been published about the solar system and galaxies and such, you'll also see that spiral of the galaxies in the sky. And that's all part of sacred geometry as well. Once I started following this and I started really paying attention to things in nature and things in the house and stuff like that.
Did you have an aha moment?
I mean, it's just...
You had an aha moment.
They all,
Yay.
yeah, they all represent the fundamental building blocks of life. I mean, they're everywhere. Every thing has these geometric shapes. Yeah, I got in there. Yep, it got me. So,
I think if anybody were to generally research and try to learn about sacred geometry, they will it blow your mind.
Yeah, it will. It will. And
because it ties into everything.
It does.
Everything.
It does. And it's in music. If you look at the symbols that are being used when writing music, they're there. Sacred geometry is there as well. The swirls and everything. It was just amazing. It's just everywhere. And you can wear or get clothing with the sacred geometry symbols on them, a symbol on them for what it is that you might need at that point in time. And it can help with your chakras. There we go. There's the word.
I'm like, drum roll, please.
Yes, it's like, what is that word? What's that word? It can help you with your chakras and help you feel connected with it, because those symbols help. Well, I'll get more into that, but you can draw energy from those symbols to your chakras and to how you feel and how you deal with everyday life. Of course, we've already talked about the different cultures and religions being affected by the sacred geometry symbols and such. The sacred geometry, it espouses the idea that everything is connected. And simply watching those patterns play out in our lives, it can be very comforting. Sacred geometry is all about a sense of natural alignment. To more actively introduce this symbol into your life, you can also work with sacred geometry talismans and symbols. Different patterns formed from sacred geometry offer focal points for meditative states, such as the mandalas and the Sri Yantras, which are two that we hadn't covered. But those are ones that you would use when you are meditating and trying to focus on manifestations as well, and trying to get your chakras in balance and everything. And to activate these states, you can wear sacred geometric symbols, as I talked about, with jewelry, or, as you mentioned, you can arrange your crystals in the different geometric patterns in a crystal grid. So many spiritual practices can be amplified by sacred geometry, as I talked about. Even certain yoga poses themselves allow us to get our bodies into a geometrical form that allows energy to flow. I had talked about a crystal grid, and this is a way you can create a crystal grid. You gather any of your favorite crystals you want to work with and take some time reflecting on what you're seeking. Refer to the aforementioned sacred geometric shapes we have talked about for ideas such as higher consciousness or safety, and arrange your crystals to form the shape you want to use. Now, a triangle can be the best for elevating your consciousness, while a square would be best for security and stability. Arranging your crystals in a circle would represent oneness. Now, meditate in front of your crystal grid. Place it on an altar where it can regularly amplify your space, and switch it up as needed depending on what you want more of. Now, if you do...
Now, I have to jump in here because we're talking gemstones.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend that you research the stones for what their properties are. Let's say you're wanting to work on abundance. A citrine is the stone for you. Yeah, like I said, you may want to not just grab your favorite stones, but figure out why they're your favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And what you want to manifest or what you're trying to do there. Does that make sense?
Yes. And that's the same thing with the sacred geometry shapes. You want to do research on that on each one and figure out which one is going to work best with what you're trying to do with your crystals as well.
Right. So just don't grab one.
Right.
Just grab some stones, but you do need to do some work.
Right.
We can't do all the work.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, there is a Sri Yantra gaze meditation, and I'll put a symbol of this one up on Facebook probably the first day on Monday, because this one can really help you relax and such. So place your Sri Yantra, which is a little bit of a tongue twister, at eye level in a place you can sit quietly, comfortably, and undisturbed. Focus your eyes on the center of it and let your eyes slightly relax and allow the energy of that symbol to carry you. And that'll help you with calmness, meditation, and such.
That's the same concept for scrying.
Yes.
Or trying to see someone's auras.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's all tied together.
Isn't it amazing how it all goes together? I mean, it's the same thing you would do for scrying, for reading an aura.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So the last thing I have is a pyramid power meditation. And this is where you can sit cross-legged with a hand rested on each knee so that you form a pyramid with your body. And you take a moment to settle into this shape. Take 6 deep breaths in through your nose, drawing the breath down through your spine and up through your solar plexus and heart and out through your mouth. Now, in your mind's eye, draw a square on the ground around you. Like visualize a square around you. This will form the base of your pyramid. As you do so, acknowledge the 4 directions, north, south, east, and west, and the 4 elements of earth, air, fire, and water. Set the intention that this square represents the anchor to your physical reality, which will serve to ground the higher frequencies that you are calling in, and breathe into it. Draw in your mind's eye 4 triangles up from the base of your square to complete your pyramid. Because we all know what a pyramid looks like. It's 4 triangles joining at the top at the peak. Do this by drawing a line from each corner of the square to just above your crown. The apex where these points join represents the ether. Take another 6 breaths as before. Visualize a channel of white light piercing the tip of the pyramid and flowing into the space that you have created. Remember that you are made of light. Allow it to wash over you and be absorbed into your organs and every cell in your body. Once you feel the alignment and expansion of this activation, visualize a circle within the square. Spin it counterclockwise to discharge any stagnant or blocked energy, then spin it clockwise to charge your energy centers. I found this visualization to be very, very helpful.
So you've done this?
I did do this. Now visualize a flame of purification before you. Build a pile of all the things that you want to release and put them in the fire and feel the lightness of letting go. Now invite the fire of creativity and passion to ignite this space, and then call to mind creative projects that you wish to guide this energy towards. So that's what you're doing. You're building this energy so you can go out and be creative in your projects and such. And there's a way to let things go, because that's what we are always trying to do, release what is not ours and let it go.
So this exercise worked for you?
It did. It did. I found it very energizing. I did feel a lot of weight lift off me whenever I did it. Yeah.
So it's funny. That doesn't surprise me because I think that exercise is geared towards more left brain people, which I think is perfect because not all meditation is for everybody, and you have to find the right one. That one wouldn't work for me because I was still trying to figure out which way is north, which way is south. Like, which way is north where I'm sitting? Where a left brain person is not going to get caught up in that kind of detail, north, front, south, whatever.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I think that's a great exercise for someone who's really into sacred geometry. I think that's a great exercise. It's definitely geared towards the scientific mind.
Mm-hmm.
It was clear on the visualization.
Yeah.
And I think it was very easy. It's just in my mind, I was going, which way's north? Because when I give directions, I'm not telling you to go north or south. I'm telling you to go down to Chick-fil-A, you turn left.
That's what I do too. I don't give directions north, south, east, and west.
Okay. So I'm like, dang, I don't know what north is right now. I mean, is that just going what's in front of me? Because normally north behind you, south, east, west. I mean,
well,
that's what I got hung up on.
Visually, whenever I do any type of meditation, I know where my north is in my house, where the south is. South is where the sun's coming in my windows all the time. So
okay.
I know the opposite of the house is it doesn't have as many windows. It has one, in a sliding glass door. So
you do know where the north and south is.
I do know where it is, but I can't give you directions on driving somewhere north, south. Yeah.
But yeah. You recognize where it is, where in your meditative space.
Correct. I face north whenever I start this meditation. That's what I did. I was like, well, if I have to know which direction I'm going.
See, and if I didn't know this ahead of time, I'm going, well, you lost me here. I'm out. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it sounds like it was a great exercise for you, and I can see where it's not one of those that's hard to visualize. Because some meditations tell you you're walking up this path and there's steps, and then I'm kind of like, well, what kind of steps? Are they wooden steps? Are they rock steps? What kind of steps? I mean, my mind goes down there. That goes there.
Yeah, I get it.
That sometimes they make it too hard by giving you too much detail.
Right.
Of what's in the background.
Yeah, I could see that. I agree.
And the background in this particular exercise isn't what's important. It's focusing on the geometric shapes. It's focusing on the light.
Right.
It's focusing on charging and discharging.
Right.
So I could see where that would be once Carrie got past where's north. I could see where that would be a really good exercise.
Yeah.
But I'd have to get my cell phone out, put the compass on. Where am I? Okay, I'm facing north now.
Yeah.
Which, you should do some preparation prior to meditating. So I guess it's not a big deal, figure that out.
Yeah.
I have some oracle cards. I had oracle cards that I had to figure out. You had to face north first, and then you had to go different directions. And I'm like, I don't know. And I had to get my... So now I have a compass on my phone because I had to figure it out.
There you go. So I guess the last I wanted to say about sacred geometry is that it is the building blocks of life, and it goes all the way down to our DNA. The symbol for DNA is also the swirling spiral that we've been talking about and everything. So everything in the world and beyond has sacred geometry with it, and you can use sacred geometry in your everyday life and do your research on what the different shapes are, because we didn't even cover all of the shapes of sacred geometry. There's just so many, but these are the more common ones that we covered. But yeah, they're in everything.
And we would love to deep dive on each topic, but we saw that in the Claire series and the Empath series that it gets to be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And we try to pick out what we feel we're drawn to talk about and what needs to get put out there. but we can't do a whole series on sacred geometry because
Right.
I think we would need a professor at
Yeah.
some point.
If there were some that you all would like us to dive deeper into, let
Oh,
us know
absolutely,
and we
yes.
can have an episode on one or two of them that you might be interested in. It's just, there's just so much within sacred geometry, and we just, scratch the surface of it.
So, I mean, there's so much, and we can only scratch the surface of this topic,
Right.
and I mean, they teach courses on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how in depth it can become. So don't let it overwhelm you. But if you are drawn to a certain one, go and research that one. To me, I would start Metatron's cube because I just think it's amazing just to look at it and all the different designs and everything. And but there's so much the tree of life. I mean, it's just what you're drawn to is what you really should research and what you feel you need, and because this I think is a good item to put in your toolbox, your psychic toolbox.
Right, right. Because they enhance what you have, what you're doing, what you're wanting to accomplish, and such. And as they are part of everything, or everything is a part of it, you feel the energy coming from it. You can just feel it. It's really neat. Sorry.
Well, don't be sorry at all. So, Kim, you have anything else you want to add to the sacred geometry?
No, I think that's it. I think I've probably bored everybody.
No, you did not bore everybody. No, no, no. It's any. I don't. It's really difficult, and I know we've said this before. It's difficult to talk about a subject and try to keep it entertaining the entire time,
Yes, yes.
and not make it come out as a college lecture.
Yeah, I know.
You know. Yeah, it's a fine line. It's a fine line. You did very good.
All right, thank you. But that's all I've
Well,
got.
if Okay. Well, if any listeners have any questions about this episode or any episode or just what Viking movie Carrie should watch next, you can let us know by messaging us on our Facebook, or you can email us at psychicbent1@gmail.com. Got it right.
Yay!
Ding ding. Yay. Don't expect it next time, but yay. What else you have, Kim?
Don't forget to like, follow, rate, review, subscribe, share our podcast with everyone on any of the podcast platforms that you listen to us.
Oh, I have something I wanted to just throw out there. Let our listeners know that I am attending this. You've heard me talk about the paranormal convention I go to every year, and I wasn't able to go last year, but I will be attending the Haunted America conference in Bethalto, Illinois, at the Godfrey College, and Kim will be with me. Yay!
Yay! I'll be there one day. Sorry.
And psychic sister Julie will also be in attendance.
Yes, she
So,
will be. Yay!
yay. So I'm throwing it out there, listeners. You can go to the Haunted America the Haunted America website and look at all the different ghost hunting and ghost investigation opportunities, the different lectures and such. If you happen to be in the area, do stop by and say hi. I'm going to be having a booth with my jewelry and other craft items, but we will be there promoting the podcast as well. And our sister Julie will be at the table next to us doing psychic readings.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Yes, it'll be a fun time. I believe the vendor room. I'll have more details as we get closer, but I believe it's with the exact dates. But the vendor room is open to the public, even if you are not attending the conference. It is open to the public. So we will have more information on our Facebook page, and of course, we'll be talking about it as we get a little closer to June. But I'm excited.
That sounds great.
All right. Thank you, listeners. Bye.
Bye. May your light shine bright. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast, Psychic Bent. If you enjoyed Psychic Bent, please like, follow, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to Psychic Bent. We can be reached on Facebook at Psychic Bent Podcast. Our email address is psychicbent1@gmail.com. May your light shine bright.